This does not look like a starter, a crank sensor, or axles. Hello and welcome to the shop. I'm Jared and this is the Questionable Garage. And behind me is a very sad vehicle. If you remember the first time we introduced this is a Snyder ST600-C. And if you've never heard about that, don't feel bad. Not many people did. This was imported for a little while as a motorcycle. That's why it has 14,000 reflectors on it to kinda sorta be a motorcycle. It's also got one really big center headlight. None of the lights really do anything to make this a safe or effective vehicle to drive at night. But this particular vehicle was donated to a local museum that I like to work with. You can find some of my cars there on rotation, miles through time in Clarksville, Georgia. It was donated to them by another museum because it was purchased on auction, supposedly as a perfect running vehicle. Now, I do want to correct, I did find out the auction house did make it right. They got the car they bid on and also had this basket case. By basket case, I mean when we got a hold of it, there was nothing in the engine bay. It was sitting in a wooden crate next to it and we had boxes upon boxes upon boxes of parts. Not half of what we needed to get this thing together. So our goal today is to get that engine back where it belongs in the engine bay and figure out what we might be missing and overnight some parts from Hong Kong. All right, guys, it is time to unbox a couple boxes that have come a very long way. If you remember, we were missing some very specific parts to the Snyder. So far, not a whole lot to make this thing run. O'Reilly has a lot of stuff on the shelf. They don't have much for an obscure Chinese motorcycle car. I don't fault them for that. But it gives my awesome, amazing viewers a chance to showcase how absolutely awesome and amazing you all are. I got an email from a viewer, Mike Wu, out of Hong Kong that said, hey, let me know what you're looking for. Let's try to find some of these parts. And then after several emails back and forth, he reached out to his friend Chan Long out of mainland China, and we were able to source these things. Because if you remember from the first video on the Snyder, it's technically still made by Fulu in China, the FLA7, the Golden Horse, there's a couple names for it, but it's still under production. So we're able to track down some of the parts, and I'm excited to unbox and see what we got in our first round of things. I got a couple pictures. I feel like he's done a really good job in getting us most of what we're gonna need to hopefully get this thing running. Now I know there was one part he just could not find, which is fine. We can fabricate and build. Okay. I did not, if this is the part I think it might be, I didn't know this one was coming. That is the replacement panel that is absolutely catastrophically broken that goes above the license plate. Didn't know this one was coming. I'm actually kind of excited to see this piece because I was trying to figure out what we were gonna do to fix it. I do appreciate that. Okay, so rather than putting like a connector here, it looks like it runs all the way up and around. All right then. I think I know what these silver tubes go to. Yes, it looks like we've got the new roof rack mounts, which again, I'm not gonna be able to easily replicate that. I know some of you will be like, just 3D print it. It's not always that easy. So we're gonna be able to put a roof, we have options. We can stick with the original black or we can upgrade it to the stylish silver. Yeah, a full set, so we can use our luggage rack. Sweet, we have got little tiny trim pieces that we didn't have and you can't really just get. You may not understand the excitement, but it's a weird, obscure thing. I know some people out there just buy the working ones and have fun, but I'm a little more excited to, you know, like fix one. I will say, this does not look like a starter, a crank sensor, or axles. It does look like a Christmas tree. Well, we're still gonna try to make some progress on the car today. Dang it, I wonder where it got wrong. Well, let's try to get this little thing in there. Extra fun fact, my lift table, it doesn't want to lift anymore. So we're gonna go up and down with the car some. We're gonna have to go this way as we go in though. Maybe something like that, maybe. I have no point of reference. It's just all a guessing game here. Yell if I get close to something, guys. All right, definitely need to go forward and back a little. Try this and rotating back. How's it looking? Or can I turn my one block like that? That might do it. All right, down a whole lot. All right, what are we doing now? Ouch. It's also kind of hard. The car doesn't weigh a dang thing. Well, I'm sorry, the motorcycle. The motorcycle doesn't weigh anything. It's not a car. Can't get that wrong again. All right, it's starting to go in the hole. The engine needs to go up and back a little bit more. Now I think I just kind of move it around until it. Don't tell the museum. I'm slightly amused at just how wiggly these mounts are. The rear mount actually looks like you just slide it back and forth on the bracket, which is fun. Now the fun of how exactly we want to draw up these mounts. All right, before we get too much further along on our tiny little motorcycle car, I had to take a quick second and thank today's sponsor, Dream by Beam. Now, if you haven't seen Dream just yet on the channel, it has been one of my favorite sponsors to come on board recently. One of the most important tools that anyone can have living their daily life is the tool of a good night's sleep. And sometimes life is just difficult. You're stressed, or you got a real exciting trip or project that you're gonna go pick up in the next day, and you just can't sleep because of that Christmas morning excitement. Well, that is where Dream comes in. Now, it's not hard to realize the benefits of a full night's sleep. When you get the full night's sleep, it's easier to stay focused. It helps your body's immune system to be able to repair and restore and get ready for the next day's challenges. And of course, it improves your mood. Dream is clinically proven to help you get a better night's sleep. They have plenty of flavors to choose from, along with special seasoned blends. I'm trying the apple cider donut as soon as I get home tonight. Or my other favorite, the sea salted caramel. Whatever your taste buds, there is a flavor you're going to enjoy. And my viewers are gonna get a special offer. You're getting early access to their Black Friday sale. That's up to 50% off. 2-for-1 plans. That makes Dream even more affordable to help you get that good night's sleep. You will not be disappointed. It's worked great for me. Again, I loved the way they approached the partnership of sending a product out long before ever wanting to advertise. They believe in their product. It's done great for me. I think you'll really enjoy it. Head on over to shopbeam.com/thequestionablegarage, where you're gonna be able to take advantage of that early Black Friday sale and save up to 50% off. It's their biggest sale they've done. Link is in the description box, QR code on the screen. Save up to 50%, sleep better, be happier, be healthier, and be better prepared for all the projects you wanna get. Again, shopbeam.com/thequestionablegarage. Early Black Friday sale, up to 50% off. Thank you, Beam, for sponsoring today's episode and making it a little bit easier for me to get to sleep at night. All right, so you can see we're getting pretty close. It's just a matter of playing, making sure things are square. Our drive shafts off of the differential are gonna come out okay. And when we look here, this is the motor mount, and you can kind of see under the oil filter, it's not a straight line. But if we come and look, right there, right there, adjust the light for that. I'll be right back, different camera. And by different camera, GoPro friends, I mean my phone, which I need to wipe off. Golly. So if we look here, it really is just a U and some really, really thin square tube. Because of how all of the angles line up, I think that will be our best bet. So if this was a big horsepower engine, we would probably look for something a little bit different. It's not even 600 cc's. That's 3.8 3.2 engines. Yeah, 3.2 engines per liter of Coca-Cola that you guys drink. So it's very small. So we're gonna be fine using that U and square tube. So I'm going to draw out and bend a pair of U's to go into those motor mounts real quick, and then we'll measure, pick up some square tube, and fire up some welding torches, and have an engine in the hole. All right, so in all of the parts, aside from the Christmas tree, we could not track down these metal brackets that will end up going to the rubber mounts for the engine half. We still had the transmission one, and given how absolutely flimsy it is, I feel like we're okay building these. So we're starting, of course, with some CAD, which we're then gonna take over to our arc droid to cut into the metal. I was trying to figure out a way if they use just these 3 bolts. Again, I couldn't even find pictures of how this stuff worked. I don't know how, if I did this, there wouldn't be a good, not that this engine makes power, but there's not a good way to tie into it. So I'm gonna put 2 bolts here and run a bracket over that will come over and kick flat here. And then we're just gonna use these 2 bolts because it'll sit on top of that one. At least that's what I have in my mind to work out. We'll see how it does. Something I really need to get is some really good gasket making punches, round punches that I can line up that'll help make these holes a whole lot better. How long do I need to go? So 5.5 inches will clear, and then how deep are we? Flat there, we're flat here. 2 1/8, so it needs to go in 2 1/8 inch. And again, we were doing, we'll go 5 3/4 for good measure. So that is going to be 7 7/8 inch. Could maybe just do 8, but yeah, we're gonna do 8 just so it's simple math. So 6, go an extra 2, and we're 2 1/8 to our bend. I don't know how far before we make our bend. There. I'll figure this out. I'm a smart kid. I'm not a smart kid. Okay, so we're gonna go over 3 1/2. That's where we make our bend. So 5 right here is where we make our other bend. Just cut it out and see if the general shape's gonna work. Also, I need to get more construction paper or heavy hard cardstock. That stuff tends to work a little bit easier than straight up cardboard at times. Okay, setting that up like a brake. Boom. Just to get her crease, and then we go the other way. What are some of your favorite little fab tricks, things that you do along the way that make things work better for you? There we go. And come in, just, again, simple. We got our 90 and our 90. Lined up there. Lined up to the top. It's gonna let us then, we can either weld off this face, we can weld off here. I'm not 100% sure how she's gonna land. The good news is we have one mounting point down, so then it's just a matter of get the engine in position and figure all the littleness out. So now, next thing we gotta do is get all of our holes lined up. This is not like a super high horsepower thing, so we can be a little loose with some of our things, but I want it to be good. Well, let me try my Sharpie trick because my marking paint is hiding. I don't know that this will actually do it for me enough though. I don't think she's gonna give us the marks that easy. So we'll go with our backup, push really hard. I also have a small little peening hammer that is really good for this stuff too. Come on, give me something good. Absolutely nothing. All right, we're gonna make this work. Let me get the little hammer. Oh, that's giving me the whole outside. I need to be careful there. So it started because of that round puck. So now I need to be careful, and I'll carefully cut out that center. But now we got our holes. We can church up the edges a little bit, trace that in, get her cut, and boom, we got ourselves our bracket. There we go. So we're just gonna, because this is just a basic straight line, we just can tap corner points, and that will make our 4 corners. So 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, and double click to close. And there's a way, I should play with the software more. I know that I can just tell it I want a circle and center point it and stuff. And then for our fold lines, I just want to do a small cut in the center that we're going to weld close. That will make bending easier. Here to here. Alright. Get our grounding cable connected. Set it up to run, but not actually cut yet. Make sure. Also, if I was a smart man, I would do my circles first. But I'm not a smart man. They're also not very good circles. I need to figure out circles in the software. So we're gonna go torch hot and tell it to run again. And we'll let that cool off and do the thing. So there it is, nice and broken, except I bent it backwards. We needed to bend it opposite. So we got those real nice circular holes. I can clean that up in the software once I learn how to use it, but reset the metal and we'll cut it one more time. Hopefully I bend it right. Did my drawing there real quick. And also, when you're in trace, you just hit the circle in your center point and tell it your diameter in millimeter. It was really easy to make nice circles. I've been wasting a lot of time. Making stuff is a lot of fun. I'm feeling pretty good with these. I got one made up. We made those relief cuts so we can bend the thicker-ish steel pretty easy. I love fabricating. I'm not the best at it. I've got friends that make it really pretty. I'm getting better and learning. The Arc Droid's helping a lot, and just watching some other channels and watching their fabrication work. So what this means though is we can come in here. No clue how I'm gonna quite manage this one-handed. We'll see what we can do. All right, we got that going. Ow. Pinch the finger a little bit as you're sliding a bolt through. Also, these motor mounts are not half-inch. They're, what would it be, 12 millimeter? So it's a little snug. Maybe it'll be better to come from this side. Ow. Come on. Work with me. Ow. Okay, well, it's in enough, sort of. I got to clean it up a little bit. But you'll see what I'm talking about, why we're going to probably use blocks. So with the right bolt in there, take the one long one out. Those almost touch, so just a little bit of square tube welded between these two. Lock that in good. And then a little bit of square tube flat, and we're going to lock in right there. And we made motor mounts that realistically are probably a little bit more robust than that. So before we actually do our final cut of tube, as you can tell, engine is a little bit off. I need to play with that positioning a little bit more, but we've almost made very simple motor mounts. The biggest thing is those ears. I'm really pleased with how they came out, figured out how to cut circles. Really simple on the software. If, you know, the tiniest bit smarter than me, it's not hard to do, but making progress. we're gonna have a Cherry engine in the back of the Snyder here really, really soon. You know, we've never really looked under this silly thing. You know, don't crash it. It is all really thin tin, you know. We can hammer that out a little bit. You've got your brown recluses. There's no grease fitting in there, but that's your front hub, you know, for your car. You know, a little bit of a ladder, sort of ladder construction here down on the bottom. But if we get back here, hey, there's an engine in there. We've got our brackets all made up and it is bolted in for good. I did end up with a slight angle this way, which I'm kind of baffled on. I don't know if what I've been measuring off of ended up not being a square as I thought. It is good, you know, front to back. That mount is kind of what we went off of. And I'm kind of going off the assumption that that's probably good enough. Given everything about the car, the speeds it's gonna do, a couple degrees on the CV joints are gonna be perfectly fine. Speaking of which, I've got them knocked out because we're waiting on those new axles. So our next big step, realistically, I don't want to put in our clutch yet because that's going to run right under here, the clutch cable, and block some of the axle movement. Also, I've used every trick I have got. That will not come off. So when we get the new axle, I'm gonna have to slide it into that cup. Thankfully, this thing has almost no miles on it. So we know that cup is not gonna have a lot of wear and we can just put it back together. If this had a whole lot of miles or that axle was completely shot and not just a boot problem, you would probably wanna replace that cup. But going with that super low miles, the lug nuts have never even been off. Those are all the factory tightening marks. Given that, you know, it's obvious they've been there a little while. So our next big step, we're gonna get this thing lowered back down and start trying to figure out the wiring harness. Get it laid out, get it plugged in, and then we can start making a list of the little parts we're just gonna have to match up. The coolant hoses, the fuel lines, the things that aren't here or not on their way. Hopefully we have those axles and that little exhaust pipe coming. Those are the two real big, well, that and the starter and the crank sensor. Hopefully we get a lot more in the Christmas tree in the mail here soon. But we're gonna lower it down, pick you up from the top side, where we start playing Guess Where the Plug Goes. Okay, so we need to connect our two, all you can see is my hand. Let me move that. We need to connect that hose to that hose. The problem is that is really small, relatively speaking, in the radiator world. And I did find a hose that almost had the perfect bend, but it was part of one of the most complicated cooling hoses I have ever seen. It had 9 different hoses coming off of it. I didn't even want to ask how much it was going to be. We needed one hose for the front to replace just a real simple straight piece. And then I went with this guy. What I'm picturing is I can cut this in the middle, put a joiner in it, and flip it to make our U. Not the most ideal scenario, but it's a lot cheaper than ordering the hose from China. We've already got multiple packages on the way, and we may end up with another Christmas tree. So we're gonna make that, and once we've got that done, we have our throttle cable back in. We were having all kinds of problems fitting this, if you remember in the time lapse. Well, that's because someone had pushed the accelerator up there. You know, all of your motorcycles with foot gas pedals, and when they did that, it pulled all the cable out and it bunched up and wasn't returning correctly. So I kind of had to fight up there, then it came back and we got all that together. So we are making some progress. I'm going to just turn on the little camera. We're gonna play some hose game and hopefully get that connected. And then it's a matter of putting on a couple clamps. The correct oil filter. If you remember, our oil filter was completely crushed in. $55. Did some catalog hunting with the friends at O'Reilly, and if we go an inch longer, it's $10, and I'll have it in the morning. So we're gonna have a slightly longer oil filter just because it seemed absurd to spend that much money. We're gonna keep just trying to figure out where everything goes. I think I have all of our connectors figured out except for one, and it leaning towards oxygen sensor. 4 wires kind of makes sense for an oxygen sensor. That's gonna go to our crank sensor, and you know, an oxygen sensor would be around there. Problem is I haven't found one yet, but I'm hoping we can run it and just basically have it in a limp mode without one. So we'll see how that goes. The trick will be is how hard is this gonna be to get this slid on? I might need a little bit of lube to make that happen, but I think we can get it on. Let's see. Yeah, we're just gonna do lube. All right, back and lubed. Okay. Because of that, it's probably gonna be our better angle. Just gotta get, ow. And I got lubed my shirt. Come on. Ah. The fact I'm using red grease makes this look pretty gory, doesn't it? It's a little bit wider of an angle I would have liked. I can't really do much for it, but we're gonna have more flow than the original hose required of it. And that's, I don't know that that's gonna be tight enough of an angle. May have to try to shorten it some. I don't love it, but I think we can make it work. No, I think this hose is better down because it's slightly smaller. I need it to be a little closer. Even with this radius down a little bit, it's still a big enough diameter. I think we're okay to run this. We'll give it a go. The good old hose game, as I call it. You walk around and look at their huge selection of expensive hoses in the back and find the one that might just let you put something together. Just stop falling, guys. It's supposed to be a nice, easy to use table. It's probably workable. I hate good enough, but this is giving off good enough feelings. No way to do it. Not with what I got. Other option is I go and hold up some metal. This is the worst part, like trying to figure out what you'll be okay with. Well, I'm gonna play a little more. I'll let you know what we come up with. Oh man, would you look at that? It is in there and it is almost completely plumbed. We have fuel lines, we have most electrical connectors. There's one that I'm not sure if it's a ground or if it goes to the alternator, and I may have to make an alternator lead to go to the starter. We're waiting on our crank angle sensor. Also, I've been trying to plug this into our coolant for the longest time. Yeah, it works a lot better if you just plug the coolant plug in. That's our crank angle plug. So this is the O2. I was able to find some domestically, so we're not gonna have to wait on Christmas trees from Hong Kong there. But man, it is so close. So close. We're gonna have to figure out what battery is the right one for it. All I know is it has studded terminals, so we're just gonna measure, see what can fit in there. Oh, I was hoping we were starting today. We are so close to driving our car cycle, motor car, illegal thing. That's what this is. And we are so close to driving it. Pretty much all of our major hurdles are crossed. The engine is in. It does fit to our transmission. We hopefully have the right axles coming so we can get the axles in next episode, get the exhaust on it, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we've got a starter and we've got a crank sensor, because that's really all that we're missing. Well, oil filter, but that's small stuff. That's easy. Again, shout out to my friends at the Cornelia O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's nice working with a parts store that still has those catalog options and you have employees that know how to use them. We're so close. I appreciate you guys watching and hanging out. And again, big thank you to Mike for helping source all of these parts out of Hong Kong and China and getting them here to us. And let me know where to send that Christmas tree. I'm Jared, reminding you guys to always make questionable choices. And sometimes they're not technically legal. They're just fully illegal. But help the museum out, get them running and driving anyway. We'll see you next time.